What's happening, my friends? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Now, before I get started, let me give a shout out to the JBT community. It's just boxing talk. We're a group of people who just love to talk boxing. And we're always looking for others to join us. And you don't have to have a podcast. The only requirement is you just have to love to talk boxing. That's all. That's all. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT. Ray Patterson, straight out of New Jersey. Mike Masick. Al Booger. D for the win. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Box Historian. Today, the greatest fighter from each state in America, part 2. So how's everybody doing this Wednesday afternoon, hump day? You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Historian. That's me, your friendly neighborhood box story. Yeah, like I told you, we wasn't going to finish the greatest fighter in America show, so we continue with today. I think we left off with, I think we're up to Nebraska. But we're going to wait a little while today for a few more of my friends to get here, like Lonnie Lee. Let's talk fashion. I'll probably be along. I was reading something this morning about Canelo's latest mandatory. I forgot the name already. Nobody never heard of. Yeah. And Edgar Berlanga. I think it's going to be Edgar Berlanga. What y'all think? Yeah. Or Edgar's going to win the next round of the Canelo. Jaime won the last round. David Benavidez, David Morrell, 2 of his other mandatories, they didn't took their stuff out of the running. They gave up. Canelo's not going to fight him. But this is a non-pro box week too. No hashtag Let's Talk Fashion today. No evening hangout. What are they trying to do to us? Man, I was had my phone out last night getting ready to pull up the evening hangout. Then I remember there's no evening hangout anymore. Well, Friday, Sunday and Friday, the Old Timers show and the Friday night hangout are still on. So fortunately, we still have those. But everybody okay this hump day? We got the big heavyweight undisputed this weekend. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Good card too. Abbott Caballero against Frank Sanchez. Great card. Really looking forward to that one. And it's this weekend. I noticed yesterday during the show there was an exodus But then being Boxing News told me that it was showing the fighter arrivals. Coming on at 2 o'clock, I'm right there when everything happens. The press conferences, excuse me, the weigh-in. Yeah. So I was sitting there looking, excuse me, yesterday looking at like 2 people for about the first hour of the show, but then everybody showed up in the last hour. And I was wondering what was going on, and being Boxing News told me that they had the fighter arrivals. So that was something. Is Floyd back from Dubai yet? Still have Floyd hemmed up over there. What was up with that? I hope my boy gets out of there, man. Them people over there, man, they can be cruel. Remember that guy from the Washington Post went over there, and he was from there, but he had moved to America, and he was a writer for the Washington Post. They killed him. He went over there and went in some building and never came out. So I hope Floyd is okay. Wow. Yeah, they don't play over there in Saudi Arabia. They haven't done away with the death penalty yet. Yeah, but we're gonna wait about 10 more minutes for a few people to come in. But like I always say, people like Lonnie Lee is here every day, and I don't want to start too early and have him miss too much of the show. He gets off at 2:30, so he still gets the bulk of it. Yeah. But today is the greatest fighters born from every state, but born, that word is significant because it's sometimes a fighter is born in a state, but then he moves to another one at a young age, and he the bulk of his career unfolds from that other state. Like the examples I used was Tommy Hearns. He was born in Tennessee, but of course we know him from Michigan, out of that legendary Kronk gym up there in Detroit. But for this list, he represents Tennessee because that's where he was born. And same thing with Sugar Ray Leonard. He grew up in Palmer Park, Maryland, and that's where he resided at, when his boxing career was unfolding. But he was born in North Carolina. So for this list, he's the greatest fighter born in North Carolina. Okay. And Maryland was Joe Gans, of course. We did him yesterday. A good representative, Joe Gans, fought back in the early 1900s. Joe was the first Black American fighter to ever win any kind of championship in sports. Of course, the first overall Black person to win a championship was George Dixon, but he was Canadian. Okay. So yeah, that's how that worked out. But quite a list of people. We've also already covered Sonny Liston from Arkansas, Sugar Ray Robinson from Georgia, and Sugar Ray grew up in New York, but he represented Georgia because he was born in Alley, Georgia. Remember? Yeah. And let's see what's going on in the chat. Everybody just greeting each other. But Al Booker says, "Thoughty don't play around. Better be on your P's and Q's for sure." That's right, man. They don't play over there. Remember that newspaper journalist from the Washington Post, Al Booker? He had got him upset at him, and he went over there and went in some building and never came out. His Beyonce was outside waiting for him. The man turned up dead. And Saudi was like, "Oh, we don't know what happened to him." He left here. No, he didn't, because his fiance said he never came out of the building. And they found the man dead. Okay. I told you Let's Talk Fashion was coming. AKA Remo. Hashtag JBT. Just Boxing Talk. And like I said, we're all JBT. We all don't have the hashtag Let's Talk Fashion on there, but we're all representatives of the Just Boxing Talk organization, founded by Jay Hardcore himself. What an organization. We meet every Saturday. That's some pretty good meetings. And I'm the treasurer. Okay. It's not, money haven't built up enough for me to get my plane tickets yet, but just joke. But I'm the treasurer. And yeah, the official JBT meet and greet is July 13th in Philly at the Boots fight. I don't have tickets. Somebody, was it you, Al Booker, said it was sold out? I might be one of the ones at the house watching it on TV. But you can still get tickets, I think, but the prices have been raised up a little. Not a little, a lot. But yeah, we'll see how it works out. But I will be there. Me and Mrs. Cat, me and Miss Cass will be in the house. Yeah, I got a nephew that lives in Philly, so we're gonna kill two birds with one stone. We're gonna visit him that weekend also, and also meet the ABT people. Well, we always like we know each other, but we just have met in person because we talk every day, 3 or 4 times a day. In the hangout here. Just Do Boxing, The Voice, The Rise Podcast, Casual's Corner, Being Boxing News. So we really know each other already, but we just haven't officially met in person. But we're gonna remedy that on July 13th. Okay. Anybody that can show up will be appreciated. Yeah. We're gonna have a cookout. There's Just Do Boxing, The Voice right there. Salute Just Do Boxing, The Voice. 4 p.m. He'll be over there building big time, like he does every day. That's who I'm warming you up for, The Voice. Yeah. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, the meet and greet, yeah, in Philly at the Boots fight. And we're renting a house up there, so we're gonna have a cookout and some drinks. It's gonna be some smoke there. I don't smoke, but and yeah, a number of other people. So yeah, all that's going to be involved. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, big time. July 13th. Got a lot of time to get everything together. Al Booger already got his ticket. Let's Talk Fashion got his. I think D for the Win got his. I'm sitting up there lollygagging and didn't get one yet. And Al Booker said it was sold out, but we'll see what happens. But the fight will be available at the house, though. Hey, I'll be in the house. I don't know about the boxing fight house. But yeah, my nephew lives somewhere up there in Philly. I've been up there, only been up there once. But so July will make twice. We're going to start in about 5 minutes. But yeah, did anybody hear the guy, Canelo, the WBA mandatory now? I had never heard of him before. Both my phones are occupied right now, so I can't look it up. But yeah, Benavidez and Morrell said, the hell with it. They went on to 175. Canelo's still talking that nonsense about $200 million to fight Benavidez. That's like making an offer your opponent is going to refuse. What's his name? Did Lennox Lewis, the one that threw the belt in the trash can. Riddick Bowe made Lennox Lewis a 90-10 offer. Why would Lennox Lewis take 10%? He was the one that won the gold medal in the Olympics, remember? Riddick came in second place, got the silver. So why in the world would Lennox Lewis take the 10%? So that was another one of those offers your opponent's going to refuse, like Canelo did. But he'll probably fight this new mandatory guy. I think it's going to be Edgar Berlanga. Yeah. That's who he's going to fight next. I don't know what Jamal is doing, or even if he's still an active fighter. Like Rashidi. Remo always mentions Rashidi, but where is Rashidi? Anybody know? Without an APB on Rashidi Ellis. Remember he fought Vila on that card in 2023, the tank card, the first card of the year, in fact. And Vila put it out in the 12th round. And somebody said Rashidi was in some kind of other combat sport. I think it was Ant McQueen. Yeah, that's where Rashidi is. And Castano. Remember Brian Castano lost to Mel. I think it was 2022. And now we haven't heard anything from Castano yet. So, and there was no hashtag Let's Talk Fashion today either. That's right. No evening hangout. Man. We still got The Voice though at 4 o'clock. but we'll be okay. I'm going to lead you right up to him. No pro box tonight, though. But we're looking good on that schedule. And also this weekend, we got Navarrete taking on, is it Morancic? Is that how you say his name? Morancic, something like that. Dennis, not the one that fights at 140. I think it's both of the Navarrete and his opponent's first fight at 135. And it's for the vacant WBO. So Loma has the IBF now. Shakur has the WBC. And Tank has the WBA. And Navarrete or Morancic, I think that's his name, will have the WBO. So the bouts are spread out again. And I think Loma will take the winner of Saturday's fight next. And then that winner will probably take Shakur. And then, in a perfect world, that winner will fight Tank for undisputed. Wouldn't that be a huge fight? Slick Shakur, well, Shakur don't have a nickname, so I gave him one. Slick Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Tank Davis for undisputed at lightweight. Ooh, that would be a mega fight there. After Shakur demonstrates on Autumn in his next fight and gets back in everybody's good graces, they can get off of the young man. He is going to demonstrate this next fight, I guarantee you. Shakur is going to put out a demonstration. Watch. Up in the pocket, piecing Autumn up, moving. Watch. And then he'll get the winner of Loma and Navarrete. Because Navarrete will probably win this fight this weekend. And then the winner of that versus Tank for undisputed, that will be. But let's get ready to get started on today's show. Okay. Let's talk fashion, says something. He says Cass. With my feeing back for missing this, F-E-E-I-N-G. You inventing words, baby? For my feeing back for missing this week's EP, working on something fire to wrap up the season. Okay, Remo. That's a good idea you had yesterday, Remo, too, about the ring announcers show. It'll probably be the Wednesday after next, but Wednesday is the shows that y'all give to me. Today was supposed to be the one that Al Booger gave me, but I had to continue yesterday's show. Al Booger had the idea about the judges, some judges, profile on some judges and the judging criteria, and I added the boxing rules to it, but that's going to be next Wednesday now. So Remo, the ring announcers show will be 2 weeks from today. Next week is the judges show. And then the week after that is Remo gave me a whole bunch of ideas. So. And I also need some ideas for profiles on Friday. Of course, this week is the Big Bear, Sonny Liston. Of course, Ali called him the Big Ugly Bear. I call him the Big Bad Bear, but the man's official nickname was the Big Bear. Charles Sonny Liston is Friday. And tomorrow is the history of boxing in Asia. Because remember, last week was supposed to be history of boxing in Japan, but I didn't get it ready. So I just did the whole continent of Asia tomorrow. And some profiles on some of the top boxers come out of Asia. Like Manny, some of the top former boxers. Like Manny, Philippines in Asia? Yeah, I guess so. Like Manny, Nonito Donaire is still fighting. Probably still do him, because he might not fight anymore. I don't know. Pancho Villa, Flash Ellerday. Some of those guys tomorrow we'll be talking about. What's up, Ray Patterson? Straight out of New Jersey. Got a couple New Jerseyans in here. Is that how you say it? New Jerseyans? Just do. What, Al Booger? Who is Rashidi fighting tonight in Boston? I mean, what is it, boxing? And said he was in some other kind of combat sport. What sport is it, Al Booger? Is it boxing? Rashidi is fighting tonight in Boston? I did not know that. Wow. So when is the season going to wrap up, Remo? Next week? But yeah, Al Booger, put it in the chat. Remo, we got to get a put it in the chat t-shirt. Yeah. Put it in the chat. But yeah, I didn't know what sport is he in, Al Booger. Is it boxing? Because Ed said he was in some other kind of combat sport. Well, let's get ready to do part 2 of the greatest fighter from each state in America. Part 2. I got to read the screen because I forgot all about what the show was about. That quick, told you I'm old. I may be old, but I still look good. Okay, let's ask Miss Cass. Okay, let's get ready to get it. Let's get it. So we ended up yesterday with the M's. We are now in the N's. We're gonna start with Nebraska. No, it's not Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford is still fighting, but he is such a great fighter. I started to include him anyway. Just like when I did the ring generalship, the best ring generals, best day ring generalship. I had to include Loma in that, because he's such a great ring general. Sometimes I put active fighters in. And I almost put Bud for Nebraska, but I said no. I found a pretty good one. Who is he fighting? Boxing? For Team Combat League. Okay. What is that? Okay. Yay, Rashidi is back, Remo. Yay. Okay. So we're at Nebraska. I got to get to the top of my slide display and turn the music. I wish Bill Knuckles would come on back so he would remind me about this loud music. Al Booger reminded me the other day. Well, he said, yeah, he reminded me about the music. He was trying to play Bill Knuckles. That's good right there, isn't it? Top of the slide display. I was thinking, yeah, I got to put all these pictures in again, but no, they stay in there. So the last half from yesterday is still in there. Yeah, the pictures are still there. So here we go. It's 2:30. Lordy Lee is coming. We are going to start with Nebraska today and finish up. So here we go. The greatest fighter from each state in America, part 2. I like that thumbnail better instead of a big old plug blown up in the middle of the screen. Why didn't somebody tell me how bad that was? Okay. Okay, the greatest fighter from the state of Nebraska is Max Baer. Y'all remember Jeffro from the Beverly Hillbillies? That's his father, Max Baer. Because remember, Jeffro was Max Baer Jr. For you young people like Remo, probably don't remember. But yeah, Max Baer is the father of Jeffro from the Beverly Hillbillies. Yeah. But Max Baer actually born in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha. Remember Peyton Manning? Omaha. But he ended his professional career with a record of 68 wins, 13 losses, 51 by way of knockout. Okay? Now, Max Baer held the title of World Heavyweight Champion from 1934 to 1935. Okay? Now, the Boxing Register, International Boxing Hall of Fame official record book, said that Baer possessed perhaps the most powerful right hand in heavyweight history. Okay? He had a right hand. You're going to listen, find out. Now, Baer dropped out of school in the 8th grade to help his father on their cattle ranch. Now, this labor is alleged to be the reason for Baer's strength. Now, he turned professional in 1929, and he won 22 of his first 24 fights, 9 by first round knockout. Okay? Now, his conditioning, combined with his tremendous power, made him a formidable opponent. Now, check this out. In 1930, he was charged with manslaughter when Frankie Campbell died as a result of a Baer knockout of that right hand. Okay? He was actually charged with manslaughter. Ain't that something? But he was cleared of all charges. But he was banned from boxing in California for a year. Now, I should have dug into that because it happened in the boxing ring. How can you charge a man with manslaughter? You know what I mean? But he was banned in the state he was cleared of all charges, but the state of California banned him for a year. And Baer was so shook up by this incident, about the guy dying after the fight, that he chose to quit boxing altogether for a few months. And when he returned to the ring, he was reluctant to attack his opponent. Okay, that's when Hall of Fame boxer Tommy Lockman stepped in and told him he was starting to telegraph his punches. Okay, and that was all due to what had happened to him. And then when the man died, he was telegraphing his punches. He was reluctant to attack. And then Jack Dempsey started working with him to bring him back around, told him to shorten his punches up and everything. Okay, Jack Dempsey, the legendary boxer from the 20s, around that same era. And in 1932, Bayer, it happened to him again. He knocked Ernie Schaff unconscious in the 10th round of their fight. Now, Schaff died shortly after another fight with Primo Carnera. But however, his death was partially due to the damage that was inflicted on him in the Bayer fight. Okay. And in June 1933, in the best fight of his career, Bayer defeated the German, Max Schmeling, in front of 60,000 spectators at Yankee Stadium, New York City. And then he received his title shot the following year. He knocked out Primo Carnera, who was a champion, knocked him down 11 times. And the fight was finally stopped in the 11th round, and Bayer became champion. And after that, he retired from boxing in 1941. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1995. Now, he also had a brother, Buddy Bayer, who was also a professional boxer. And like I told you, his son, Max Bayer Jr., played Jethro Bodine on the popular television show, The Beverly Hillbillies. You youngsters like Remo probably never heard of The Beverly Hillbillies. Okay. Yeah. Max Bayer, the greatest boxer born in the state of Nebraska. Okay. Next is New Jersey. Now, New Jersey, the greatest boxer born in the state of New Jersey, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now you might say, well, Marvelous Marvin Hagler boxed for the bulk of his career out of Massachusetts, which he did, but he was born in New Jersey, so he represents New Jersey on this list. Actually from Newark, New Jersey. Oh, same place as Slick Shakur Stevenson. Ooh, Newark to put out a couple of big ones. Now Hagler retired with a professional record of 62 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws, 52 knockouts. 2 of those losses came early in his career, then the big one to Sugar Ray. That was his last one. That was his final fight, actually. Okay. Okay. Now, despite ending his storied career as one of the greatest middleweights of all time, greatest fighters, actually, not just middleweight, Marvelous Marvin Hagler had to earn things the hard way. Now, he didn't turn professional with any kind of fanfare or the momentum of an Olympic appearance. And he had to grind through 49 fights against top contenders before he finally got a middleweight title shot. And that one frustratingly resulted in a very controversial draw against WBC champion Vito Antuofermo. And the only reason I say his name right is because I heard it so much. Because I would have butchered that if I was looking at it for the first time. Antuofermo, I would have butchered that bad. But anyway, after that controversial draw with Antuofermo, Hagler did rebound and won the unified title in September 1980. Beat Alan Minter over there in England. That was the one they was throwing all kinds of stuff in the chair. In the ring. Bottles. I think I saw a couple chairs going there. And security had to escort Hagler and his team and Minter back to the dressing room because they was mad at him for losing. After he said he wasn't going to lose to no black man, you know. Okay. Oh, appreciate your voice. I'm going to do my best, bro. Lead them right on up to you at 4 o'clock. Okay. But he did rebound and win the title in 1980. And after that, He embarked on a historic reign at 160 pounds. I think he reigned for like 7 years, remember? Straight. Until he robbed him against Sugar Ray. Also got revenge against Antonio Fermo in that stretch in 1981 after that controversial draw. He got the win the next time. But Hagler is best known as one of the boxing's four kings, remember? Hagler, Leonard, Duran, and Hearns. He defended his title against legend Roberto Duran by unanimous decision in 1983. And that 3-round stoppage of Thomas Hearns, simply known as The War, viewed as an all-time thriller, lasted just 9 minutes of brutal action. 3-round fight was Fight of the Year for that year. So that's, you don't even have to say anything about that. 3-round fight of the year. Wow. And his last fight, I just spoke on it, was his loss to Sugar Ray Leonard. Controversial loss. It's still debated to this day. Me and Coach Tommy was debating it a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Yeah, that fight is still debated to this day. It was a fascinating fight. Leonard came out of retirement to challenge Hagler, who seemed like he was invincible at that time. And Hagler vehemently disputed the verdict. But his legacy is still intact, okay? 13 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 12 knockouts in world title fights, okay? And after he retired, he moved to Italy. And before his death, he even starred in some action movies. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Melanin Queen 27 in the building. Salute, Queen. Welcome to another episode of Gas Sports. This is part 2 of the greatest fighters born in every state in America. Salute the Melanin Queen 27, everybody. Staunch JBT member. Comes to the meetings every week. Salute, Queen. Okay. After New Jersey comes New Mexico, right? The greatest fighter born in the state of New Mexico, Johnny Tapia. And these are all former fighters. You might think of some guys that you might think is greater than these guys, but these are all former fighters. Like Nebraska, if I was doing active, it would be Bud Crawford hands down. But, almost put Bud Crawford on here anyway. But no, I found Max Baer, Jeff Rose's father, so yeah. Found a good replacement. But New Mexico, Johnny Tapia from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Finished his career with a record of 59 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws, 30 by way of knockout. Okay? Now, first of all, yeah, I know. Like if Bruce Gass is in here, he might say, well, what about Bob Foster? He's from New Mexico. No, Bob Foster's career played out in New Mexico, but Bob Foster was born in Texas. Because if he was born in New Mexico, he would definitely be the greatest from New Mexico. But he was born in Texas. That's why I picked Johnny Tapia. Okay? Now, Johnny Tapia is a good replacement because he's a 3-weight, 5-time world champion. He was a back-flipping dynamo, right? He did that thing like Tank does. After a win, he would backflip off the top rope. Okay. Yeah. Now, he was dominant in boxing's lower weight classes in the 1990s. And the whole entire time he was battling substance abuse and mental health issues. Those are the type of things that would have completely derailed a less resilient individual. Okay. So all through his boxing career, he was battling substance abuse and mental health issues at the same time. Now, in fact, just as his career appeared to be flourishing, it was nearly cut short in 1990 when he tested positive for cocaine following a fight. And he was suspended indefinitely at that time, leading to a 3.5 years out of the ring. And that's when he was getting ready to get his first title shot. But he did rebound, and he stopped Henry Martinez in 1994 to get his first title, which was the WBO Junior Bantamweight title. And he held it for 4 years, 13 successful title defenses. And during those defenses, he got a defining victory, a unanimous decision over fellow Albuquerque native, Danny Romero. Okay, I think Danny might have just retired. Remember, he lost to Cool Boy just a few years ago. Might be still fighting, but he's not on the list. Johnny Tapia is. But Danny Romero was another great Albuquerque fighter, and that was a defining win for Johnny Tapia when he got that decision over him. And that was a unification for the WBO and IBF title. Shortly after he beat Romero, he moved up to bantamweight, okay, and claimed the WBA title. But he lost it in his first defense against Paulie Ayala, not Malignaggi, Paulie Ayala. And he later lost to Ayala in the rematch. But he won a couple more belts during his career. And he lost the marquee fight against Marco Antonio Barrera. That was a big one. But in world title fights, he had a record of 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 6 knockouts. Only loss was to Paulie Ayala because the Barrera fight was not a title fight. Okay? And against other champions, especially his victory over Romero, made him the standard bearer for New Mexico boxing. Sadly, he died of heart failure at 45 years old. And that was a tragic end to both for troubled and triumphant life. Johnny Tapia. Okay. Okay, Remo, from New York, the greatest fighter born in New York, former fighters now. The greatest fighter born in New York, the great Benny Leonard. That's Benny on the right, sparring against his brother. Now, Benny was from New York City, okay? Had a total of 96 fights, of which he won 89, lost 6, had 1 draw, 70 by way of knockout. Now, this newspaper decisions, 96 wins, 16 losses, 7 draws. And when I finish, I'm going to address that because I researched that yesterday. And I can tell you what the newspaper decisions are. We're going to cover that when I finish, and I'm going to have time today. Yeah, the newspaper decision. I'll explain that to you at the end, okay? Now, New York City has arguably the most storied tradition of boxing of any major American urban center. And competition from the state is fierce when it comes to producing elite boxers of historical significance. And yet, all-time great Benny Leonard, who reigned as world lightweight champion from 1917 to 1925, 8 years, he stands out as the greatest fighter ever to be born in the state. It used to be the spiritual pulse and home of prize fighting in the United States. Yes, New York, home of the Garden. Now, of Leonard's 6 career losses, 3 came within the first year of his career. And once Leonard claimed the lightweight title by knocking out Freddie Welsh, he was virtually untouchable. And consider this too. The Welsh fight was a no decision, 10-rounder, which meant that Leonard could only claim the title if he stopped Welsh. And I'm explaining about the no decisions, okay? So he didn't get the title, okay? Because he only could get the title if he stopped Welsh. He did stop him, but I'll explain that to you in a little while, okay? That was the only way he could have got the title, because if it had went the distance, nope, they just walk away. Nothing goes on either of their record. It would just be a no decision. There was an era of no decision, and the newspaper people, that's where the newspaper decisions came in, but I'll explain that. And his win over Welsh came as a sign of things to come. Now, he never lost his title at lightweight, Okay, he ended up moving up. And he ended up losing a couple of losses in the heavier weight classes. When he was disqualified against Jack Britton in 1922, he was going for the welterweight title then. And he lost in 1932 to Jimmy McLaurin. But his 7-year reign as lightweight champion remains a record. And the only incomparable person that reigned longer than him was Roberto Duran. Okay? And Roberto is probably the best lightweight ever. But number 2 would be Benny Leonard, as far as former fighters, because Tank Davis is still an active fighter. And in the 20s, the only fighter that was more popular than Benny Leonard was Jack Dempsey. And Leonard was part of that inaugural class of 1990 into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in the old timers category, the great Benny Leonard. Now, North Carolina. This is another one of those situations where the fighter was born at, because the greatest fighter born in North Carolina is Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, Sugar Ray Leonard resided in the state of Maryland throughout the bulk of his boxing career, and that's where he's known to be from, Maryland. But he was born in North Carolina, although he left there, his family left there when he was 3 years old. So for this list, the greatest fighter born in the state of North Carolina is Sugar Ray Leonard, born in Wilmington, North Carolina. Okay, he had 40 professional fights, 36 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 25 knockouts. Now, in a sense, Sugar Ray Leonard's remarkable professional career was never supposed to happen, remember? In his profile a couple weeks ago, after claiming the gold medal in the 1976 Olympics in Montreal, as part of arguably the greatest ever U.S. boxing team, Leonard had intended to retire from boxing and pursue his education at the prestigious University of Maryland. However, his mother suffered a heart attack, and his father struggled with various ailments. And also, he had a young child, and Juanita had took him for child support. And when that hit the headlines of all the papers, the companies that would have endorsed him ran for the hills. So he didn't get the endorsements. And so with all that, his father was ill, his mother had a heart attack. He had to support this young child. What else was he gonna do but become a professional boxer? So we can thank Juanita as boxing fans, but yeah, that was a bad move. Like Al Booker said, she probably had a girlfriend whispering in her ear, "You take her ass downtown," you know. But that was a bad move, Juanita. Got them endorsements, that would have been enough child support for the child's life, probably. But the endorsements did come eventually after he turned pro. Yeah, but we almost didn't have Sugar Ray Leonard. But what followed after he turned pro was a resume that led to Leonard being named Fighter of the Decade for the 1980s by Ring Magazine. Now, I had Julio Cesar Chavez as a Fighter of the Decade for the 80s, but you can't be mad about Sugar Ray Leonard getting it. And this is particularly incredible about Leonard winning it because he retired in the 80s, right, from that detached retina, and he missed nearly 5 years of the 1980s and still emerged as the decade's defining champion. And he really did carry the torch after Muhammad Ali retired from the sport. You know, and being one of the 4 kings helped too. Okay, they came along at a great time. And Mike Tyson came along later. But Leonard did partly carry the torch after Muhammad Ali's retirement. And what made Leonard so great, though, was his consistent insistence on accepting Herculean challenges. Consider this. BoxRec's encyclopedia entry for Leonard notes that between November 1970, and this is incredible, listen to this, between November 1979 and September 1981, Leonard fought Wilfred Benitez, Roberto Duran twice, Abub Kalule, and the hitman Thomas Hearns. And those 4 fighters, at the time they fought Sugar Ray, had a combined record of 177 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Incredible. And don't forget about all the iconic moments Sugar Ray produced. Remember the No Moss rematch against Duran? Behind on all 3 cards, he rallied to stop the Hitman. And biggest of all, coming out of a 3-year retirement to dethrone the legendary Marvin Hagler. Now, Sugar Ray was 10-2 with 1 draw, 8 knockouts in title fights. Okay, 7-3, 1 draw, 5 knockouts against other world champions. Held titles in 5 weight classes. But he was about more than statistics. Because like almost no other fighter, Sugar Ray Leonard sought out greatness at every turn. Sugar Ray Leonard. The greatest fighter born in the state of Ohio, James J. Jeffries. That's James on the left. That's when he was fighting Jack Johnson. Okay? Look like they dancing. Damn. But yeah, that's James J. Jeffries on the left. He was born in Carroll, Ohio. He only had 23 fights. He won 19, lost 1, had 2 draws with 16 knockouts. Pretty good knockout rate. Now, he was known as the Baller Maker. He was a revered heavyweight champion who, despite fewer than 25 professional fights, dominated his era and cut an image of rugged, hulking strength that the public idolized. Now, his career went from 1895 to 1994, and he came back in 1910, briefly. And he defended the world heavyweight title 7 times and competed in 9 fights against Hall of Famers. He holds wins over James J. Corbett, 1900 and 1903, Bob Fitzsimmons, 1899, 1902, Peter Jackson, 1898, and Tom Sharkey, 1898, 1899. Those were the names of that era. Now, after his retirement as an undefeated champion, he was held in such esteem that racial pressure led to him being dusted off to challenge Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion in 1910. They wanted him to come back and take this title from this black guy. But what resulted was the only loss of James Jeffries' career. Johnson outclassed and stopped Jeffries. Although Jeffries was well past his prime, well, you should have stayed in retirement then. Still, Jeffries admitted Johnson was the superior fighter, and the entire spectacle and debacle of this event exemplified the racism that both boxing and America were mired in at the time. He convinced this man to come out of retirement to take this title from this black man, and he suffered his first and only defeat. Now, while Jeffries was certainly a titan of boxing's early history, special mention must be made to another guy from Ohio, the Hawk, Aaron Pryor, who passed away at the age of 39. I don't know how old he was, but he passed away. Anyway, Pryor was 39-1 with 35 knockouts. His awesome power, intimidating scowl, and frenetic, overwhelming style allowed him to rule the junior welterweight division to the tune of an 11-0 record in title fights. He won 2 fights over Nicaraguan legend Alexis Arguello to cement his Hall of Fame credentials. Yeah, James Jeffries was the greatest fighter born in Ohio, but Aaron Pryor deserved a mention. Okay. Next is Oklahoma. The greatest fighter born in the state of Oklahoma, Eddie Cotton. Come on, Eddie. Here's Eddie Cotton. BN Boxing News in the building. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. And the Mighty Rise Podcast in the building. Today, the greatest fighter born in every state in America. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. Bruce Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. BN Boxing News and the Mighty Rise Podcast. 9 p.m. weekdays, 12 p.m. on Sunday. BN Boxing News might pop up anytime. Like and subscribe, turn on your notification. Like and subscribe to Bruce Gas, turn on your notification. All great channels. Salute. So the Rise Podcast hashtag JBT. Can't forget that JBT. Just boxing talk. Friday group of people who just love to talk boxing. Okay, Oklahoma, Eddie Cotton, the greatest fighter born in the state of Oklahoma. And these are all former guys. I know you can probably think of some people, current fighters, that you would, put in place of some of these guys. But Eddie Cotton was from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Finished his career with a record of 56 wins, 23 losses, 2 draws, 33 knockouts. Now, although Oklahoma doesn't boast a storied boxing history, the state can make a case that it should be home to a unified light heavyweight champion in Eddie Cotton, a respected, defensively sound contender who fought as a professional between 1947 and 1967. He had a 20-year career. Longevity. He faced many of his era's best. He was narrowly defeated in 2 world title fights. His first major title fight came in 1961 when he faced Harold Johnson for the NBA, National Boxing Association, which became the WBA. He fought Harold Johnson for the world light heavyweight title. He lost a split decision. Then it took him another 5 years to get his next shot. Okay? His next shot was against WBC, WBA champion Jose Torres, a Custodio fighter. Now, in the Ring's 1966 Fight of the Year, Cotton was on the wrong end of a hotly contested unanimous verdict, okay? Now, a lot of people say Eddie Cotton won that fight, but the judges didn't, and that's what counts, okay? The judges said Torres won, so that's what's in the record books. Now, towards the end of his career, Cotton lost to legend Bob Foster, and he also fought Archie Moore, Sixto Rodriguez, and Peruvian great Mauro Mina, amongst others. In retirement, Cotton, who embodied the classic, competent, and crafty elite contender, he worked for the Boeing Aircraft Company, the Washington State Boxing Commission, and he owned a restaurant in Seattle. Went to Seattle during his retirement. Next, Oregon. The greatest fighter born in the state of Oregon is Denny Moyer. Denny Moyer. There's Denny. Come on, Denny. Get up there. That's Denny on the right, doing the right, connecting with the right. Okay. From Portland, Oregon. Born in Portland, Oregon. He won 98, lost 38, had 4 draws, 25 knockouts, 140 total fights. That's how they did it back then, though, 8, 9, 10, 11 times a year. Remember, Henry Armstrong fought 20 times in 1938, won all of them. Had 7 title defenses in 3 weeks. No, 5. Henry Armstrong made 5 title defenses in 3 weeks. Incredible. But Denny Moyer. Now, Denny Moyer was a true technician. And he fought anyone, okay? Had one of them Oscar resumes, okay? He enjoyed both longevity and success at the elite level in a career that lasted from 1957 to 1975, 18 years. Okay. Bruce says, Denny and his brother Phil both have wins over Sugar Ray Robinson. From Bruce Gas, everybody. This guy, Denny Moyer, and his brother had wins over Sugar Ray Robinson. Impressive. Thank you for that, Bruce Gas. Okay. And he had an 18-year career, 1957 to 1975. Now, the early phase of his career would see him fight. Like Bruce Gass said, he fought and he beat Sugar Ray Robinson. And his brother beat Sugar Ray. And besides Sugar Ray, he beat Elmer Griffith, Benny Parrott, and he would fight Robinson and Griffith multiple times. Now, these fights came after he had lost the world welterweight title fight against Don Jordan. And he only had 21 fights at that time. He was a novice. But even in defeat, he proved he belonged in the sport's upper echelon, right? He proved that he belonged in the top level of fighters. Now, he won a world title when he defeated Joey Giambra. He won the inaugural WBA title at junior middleweight. Okay? Yeah, he was the first. When he formed junior middleweight, Danny Moyer was the first champion for the WBA. Okay? 2 fights later, he won the WBC junior middleweight belt to become a unified champion. But he lost both titles in his very next fight to Ralph Duper via split decision. Very good, close fight. And then he got an immediate rematch. Then he dropped a unanimous decision. And by that time, in 1963, he was a 46-fight veteran. Okay? 46 fights. Still fighting. But in characteristic fashion, he persevered and impressively launched another assault at a world title, this time at middleweight. And he won the NABF, North American Boxing Federation, middleweight title. And he had a 14-fight unbeaten streak. And then he went up against WBA, WBC middleweight champion, and future Hall of Famer, the great Carlos Monzon in Rome, Italy. And this was 9 years after his last title fight. Now, he was stopped in 5 rounds. But the sheer will to claw his way back to contention confirmed his legendary status as a fighter. Danny Moyer. Okay? Next is Pennsylvania. The greatest fighter born in Pennsylvania is Harry Grebe. It's Harry on the left with the instead of fade haircut. There's Harry on the left. Anyway, okay. And Harry was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He had 107 wins, 8 losses, 3 draws, and 48 knockouts. And then the newspaper decisions. I'm going to explain the newspaper decisions when I finish. Okay. Now, whenever boxing in Pennsylvania is mentioned, the conversation inevitably shifts to Philadelphia law. However, it is Pittsburgh's Harry Grebe, the world middleweight champion from 1923 to 1926, and also American light heavyweight champion from 1922 to 1923. Who clearly distinguished himself as the greatest fighter born in Pennsylvania. He was known as the Pittsburgh Windmill for his frenetic, swarming style. He fought nearly everyone in a talent-laden era. And he rose up in weight and fought bigger men that made it look like impossible challenges, okay? Now, although he's remembered for his dominance at middleweight, he's the only man to defeat Gene Tunney, okay? In 1922, he took the American light heavyweight title away from Gene Tunney. That was Gene Tunney's only loss. Gene Tunney never lost at heavyweight, but he lost that one fight at light heavyweight to Harry Grebe, okay? And they had a rematch, and Gene Tunney won a disputed split decision in a rematch, which many people felt was a robbery. And they fought each other a total of 5 times. And of all the luminaries Grebe faced, legend and then welterweight champion Mickey Walker, who Grebe defended his middleweight title against in a fight that featured torrid action, including a brutal second round, which is strictly linked to the Pittsburgh man Grebe won a decision. But the story is that the fight continued later. Now him and this is what I was trying to do. Him and Mickey Walker, the fight continued later on that night at a nightclub. Okay, and Walker knocked Grieve out with a sucker punch. He snuck him at the club later on that night. Now Grieve died at 32 years old. And guess what? In 1919, this man fought 45 times in 1 year. And over his career, he fought 16 Hall of Famers. Okay? Harry Grieve. And another thing about Harry Grieve, in the era when none of the other white fighters would fight the black fighters, Grieve was one of the ones that was willing to face the elite black fighters, when many others refused. And he went in the Hall of Fame in the inaugural class of 1990 in the old timers category. Harry Grieve. The greatest fighter born in the state of Rhode Island, the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Pazienza. There's Vinny facing us. Cranston, Rhode Island. He had 60 total fights. He won 50 of them. He lost 10. He had 30 knockouts. Jay Hardcore in the building. Let me check. Yeah, you still blue, Jay Hardcore. I gotta check. Cause you still blue, Jay. Still got your ring. Salute to Jay Hardcore in the building, the creator of the JBT. Jay Hardcore hashtag JBT. Okay? This is the what is this? The greatest boxer born in every state show. Part 2. Now, Vinny Pazienza, the Tasmanian Devil, the greatest fighter born in Rhode Island, from Cranston, Rhode Island. Won 50 out of his 60 fights. Now, few fighters have been able to persevere like Rhode Island's Vinny Pazienza. Officially changed his name to Vinny Paz in 2000. Now, he survived a fractured neck from a car accident. He had one of the more improbable second acts to a career in contemporary boxing history. Came back after a fractured neck from a car accident. Okay? Some people don't even come back to work in an office after a fractured neck. He came back to boxing. Wow. And he won world championships 20 pounds apart, claiming the IBF lightweight title against Greg Hargan in 1987 and the WBA junior middleweight strap from Gilbert Deli 4 years later. Lightweight to junior middleweight, okay? And those were his only 2 wins in major championship fights. But the story of his career goes far beyond his 2-6 mark in such fights. In fact, Pazienza went 8-7, 2 knockouts against other champions, beating the likes of Harry Arroyo, Luis Santana, Lloyd Hunnigan, and even Roberto Duran twice. But that was old Roberto Duran. That wasn't the Roberto Duran. But still, on his record, it just says Roberto Duran. It doesn't say old Roberto Duran. So he beat Roberto Duran twice. Most remarkable thing about his career, though, was his challenge of IBF super middleweight champion Roy Jones in 1995. Frankly, Pazienza shouldn't even have been alive for that fight, you know. Talking about the car accident that fractured his neck, left him in a head and neck brace with a halo for support. But he managed to work his way back in the title contention, and he earned the Ring's Comeback of the Year award in 1991. Now, Jones ended up stopping Pazienza in 6 rounds. But after the Jones fight, he earned another title fight in 2002. He lost that one to Eric Lucas. And Vinny Paz's legacy transcends wins and losses, making him a larger-than-life figure from America's tiniest state, Rhode Island. Okay, South Carolina. The greatest fighter born in South Carolina, Smoking Joe Frazier from Beaufort, North Carolina. Frazier had 37 fights. He won 32, lost 4, 1 draw, 27 knockouts. And Joe Frazier had nothing to hang his head about because all 4 of his losses came against Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. Okay? But nobody else beat him. Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. That's it. Okay? Now, Frazier is indelibly linked to Muhammad Ali. But his legacy is far greater than being relegated to the B side of boxing's most storied rivalry. He won a gold medal at the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. And his rise as a professional initially coincided with Muhammad Ali's suspension from boxing, due to his Vietnam situation. And in fact, Joe Frazier supported Ali at that time, what all Ali was going through. Yep, he sure did. He loaned Ali money to pay his bills while Ali was out of boxing. Yeah, Smoking Joe did. Now, in Ali's absence, Frazier would claim the New York State Athletic Commission World Heavyweight title in 1968 before gaining unanimous recognition as champion with a stoppage of Jimmy Ellis in 1970. But his greatest moment was when he won the fight of the century in a unanimous decision over Ali, and he floored Ali with the most famous left hook in boxing history in 15 rounds. Okay, he got him in the 15th round, put him on the mat, put Ali on the deck. Now he defended his title 2 times after that fight with Ali before running into the juggernaut that was known as a prime Big George Foreman. Now Frazier never did regain the title, but he fought on, losing to Ali 2 more times. But he produced a transcendent trilogy with Ali. And the Thriller in Manila is perhaps the greatest fight ever. If you call yourself a boxing fan and haven't seen the Thriller in Manila, I don't know if you're a boxing fan or not. No disrespect, man. If you haven't seen the Thriller in Manila, if you're a boxing fan, you need to watch that. Because that's very arguably the greatest fight in history. I don't even know how either one of them finished it. After the 10th round, I don't even know how they kept coming out there, but they did. Okay. And that fight was when Eddie Futch said those famous words to Joe Frazier. It's all over. No one will ever forget what you did here today, son. And Joe Frazier died in 2011 at the age of 67. But he was an integral part in defining an iconic era, the likes of which boxing fans will never see again. Smoking Joe Frazier. Okay, from Tennessee, here's where some controversy might come in. The greatest boxer born in the state of Tennessee, Thomas Hearns. Now, Thomas Hearns is known from Michigan, Detroit. His ties to the legendary Kronk Gym. But he was born in Tennessee, and this list is the greatest boxers born in each state in America. So Thomas Hearns representing Tennessee, like Sugar Ray Leonard represented North Carolina, and we all know him from Maryland. So the greatest boxer born in the state of Tennessee, the Hitman, Thomas Hearns, actually born in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, he had a 67-fight pro career. He won 61, lost 5, had that one controversial draw with Sugar Ray, which he really won, and 48 knockouts. Okay? Now, the power that Thomas Hearns was able to harness in his right hand seemed impossible, given his scrawny frame, especially when the 6'1" Hitman campaigned at 154 pounds, actually went all the way up to 175, I believe. And he was a member of the 1980s Four Kings, but he, like each member of that group, forged a legacy that extended way beyond the Four Kings. Okay. Now, in world title fights, Hearns had a record of 15 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw, 9 knockouts. And against other champions, he won 13, lost 5, had 1 draw, and 8 knockouts. Now, he compiled one of the more impressive resumes in boxing history. Okay. Interestingly, Hearns became the first fighter to win championships in 4 weight classes: welterweight, junior middleweight, and light heavyweight. And he broke his own record when he claimed top honors at 168 pounds. Okay. Remarkably, Hearns rose through 50 pounds worth of weight classes during his career. Now, remember, Manny went through 8 weight divisions, but Manny only went up like 43 pounds because those weight classes he was going through was like, a lot of them was only like 3 pounds apart. Hearns went up more weight because he was going through weight classes that was more widely spread apart. So he went up 50 pounds. And he also briefly campaigned at cruiserweight. Incredible. Now, of course, Hearns is remembered for his part he played in the war with Marvin Hagler, the greatest 3 rounds in boxing history. However, his knockouts of Pepino Cuevas and Roberto Duran were chilling knockouts. Now, while Hearns beat a slew of elite champions, he came up short, at least officially, against Sugar Ray Leonard in 2 very memorable fights. A classic in 1981, when Hearns was leading on all 3 judges' scorecards that got stopped in round 14, and the controversial draw with Leonard at 168 in 1989, when Hearns knocked Leonard down 2 times and clearly deserved to win. The hitman, Thomas Hearns. Okay. Yeah, we're going to make it today. The greatest fighter from the state of Texas, the Lone Star State. Oh, shoot. I never showed Thomas Hearns. I'm sorry. Oh, I had Joe Frazier up there. Excuse me for a minute. Get on your game, Cat. There's Joe Frazier. There's the hitman. And next is Jack Johnson. There's Jack Johnson. I believe that's, Jess Willard, I think. He's fighting, but that's Jack Johnson on the right, of course. From Galveston, Texas, where Jack was born at, Galveston, Texas. Okay. And he had a record of 56 wins, 11 losses, 8 draws, 35 knockouts. I wonder why everybody had so many draws back then. And newspaper decisions, 15-0, 3 draws. I'm going to explain newspaper decisions to you very shortly when I finish. I didn't even know what a newspaper decision was yesterday, but I had to find out. Okay. Cat Sports gonna find out. They hide nothing from me. But yeah, I'm going to explain newspaper decisions. But Jack Johnson, on December 26, 1908, Jack Johnson broke barriers by beating Canadian Tommy Burns. I thought Tommy Burns was from Australia. I don't know. Anyway, he beat Tommy Burns to capture the world heavyweight title, which had become synonymous with a view of white strength and superiority, grounded in ingrained prejudice and overt institutionalized racism. It was a watershed moment in American sports, and Johnson's defiance of customs, including his liaisons with white women, was groundbreaking. Remember, he got convicted of transporting white women across state lines. But President Donald Trump overturned that in 2018. So, yeah. But he was convicted of that. I can think of a whole bunch of people that broke that law. I never broke it. Miss Cass. Okay. Johnson was also a gifted technician and ring craftsman who outboxed, befuddled, and humiliated opponents. He called himself the Galveston Giant. Defeated notable opponents like Jack O'Brien, Stanley Ketchum, fireman Jim Flynn, and famously, former champion and ring legend James J. Jeffries, which I think that's James J. Jeffries. He's fighting right there. And he brought James J. Jeffries out of retirement to win the title back was a white race. And Johnson outclassed and knocked Jeffries out in 15 rounds in one of the most significant fights in boxing history. Because if Jeffries had won, they would have said, see, I told you that was a fluke. But because Jack Johnson was ahead of his time, he helped in his own way to advance it. Boxing's lengthy and complicated history allows for connections to be made that span decades and vastly different eras. In this sense, It is necessary to say that Johnson, by challenging the discrimination and racism of his time, by being such a brilliant boxer, and by crafting a unique celebrity persona, he paved the way for people like Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Jack Johnson. Let's go to Utah. A couple more states left. Yeah, then I'm going to talk about this newspaper decision thing. Gene Fullmer, the greatest boxer from the state of Utah, Gene Fullmer. There's Gene crouched down low there. That's Sugar Ray Robinson he's fighting against there, by the way. Okay. Gene Fullmer, West Jordan, Utah. Okay. For most elite middleweight boxers of Gene Fullmer's era, the specter of Sugar Ray Robinson loomed too large. Robinson, who is close to unanimously recognized as the greatest ever pound-for-pound fighter as one can get, ran roughshod over the 147 and 160-pound divisions. Fullmer, though, managed to emerge victorious from their four-fight rivalry. In 1957, Fullmer defeated Robinson via unanimous decision to win the world middleweight title, only to get knocked out by Sugar Ray in the fifth round in his first defense. 3 fights later, Fullmer, however, rebounded, regaining the championship from Hall of Famer, the great Carmen Basilio, who he would defeat a second time prior to what looked like a rubber match against Robinson, except the fight ended in a draw. And in their fourth and deciding match, which immediately followed their third encounter, Fullmer prevailed by unanimous decision. So against Sugar Ray, Fullmer with 2 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. And other than Robinson and Basilio, Fullmer also had wins over big names like Benny Kid Perry and Paul Pender, as well as a litany of top contenders. Now, over his last 3 fights, he lost 2 and had 1 draw. He didn't win any of them. Each fight came against the great Dick Tiger and was contested for world titles. Fullmer is one of the few boxers to end his career in exclusively meaningful prize fights, and that, combined with his championship reigns, easily makes him the greatest fighter born in the state of Utah. Vermont. Okay, Vermont. The greatest fighter born in Vermont is Young Firpo. Young Firpo from Barr, Vermont. 74 wins, 4 losses, 43 knockouts. The Young Firpo was a devastating puncher with a frenetic pressure style. His real name was Guido Bardelli. Okay, he's one of the more accomplished contenders to never challenge for a major world title. Now, although he tried to lure Maxie Rosenblum and Bob Olin into the ring, the fights never materialized. They ducked him. Still, Firpo enjoyed success against some of the era's sternest competition, as well as immense popularity on the Pacific Coast. Now, over the course of his career, Young Firpo faced the likes of John Henry Lewis, Tiger Jack Fox, Wesley Ketchel, George Manley, Leo Lonsky, and George Courtney. And he also retained the Pacific Coast light heavyweight title for an impressive 6-fight run in 1933-34. And in 1934, at the culmination of his regional title reign, Firpo did sign the challenge to aforementioned Rosenblum, but a dispute over Firpo's percentage of the live gate was bitter enough to derail the fight. They didn't want to fight him no way. Unfortunately for Firpo, he sustained injuries in a car accident shortly after that. Now, it was still interest in a Rosenblum fight due to the intriguing style matchup, but a proposed non-title fight once Firpo healed did not happen. Rosenblum ducked him, I told you. And even John Henry Lewis, who has claimed Firpo appeared to beat even though their fight was ruled a draw, showed little interest in a rematch once he became champion. Although Firpo never landed some of the fights his talent merited, he still forged a remarkable legacy and cult following, especially for a fighter born in Vermont who fought out of Idaho. He fought out of Idaho, but he was born in Vermont. Now, if anything, the missing piece to the puzzle of Firpo's career only enhanced his legacy. Yeah, he was a very duck fighter back around that time. Young Firpo was, yeah. Virginia, you know who it is. Greatest fighter from the state of Virginia, Colonel Sweet Pea Whitaker from Norfolk, Virginia. 45 total fights in his career. He won 40, lost 4, had 1 draw, 17 by way of knockout. Now, after winning a gold medal at the 1984 Olympics, after another one of the arguably greatest United States teams ever, Colonel Sweet Pea Whitaker would embark on a professional career that saw him become a 4-weight champion and one of the greatest lightweights ever, and also a good welterweight, all while establishing a new standard for elusive defensive boxing that managed to both befuddle opponents and leave audiences in awe. Now, at its peak, 1993 to 94, Whitaker was recognized as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Okay, yeah, top of the pound-for-pound list, 93, 94. And in world title fights, he won 19, lost 3, had 1 draw, 4 knockouts. And against other champions, he won 14, lost 3, 1 draw, also 4 knockouts. Okay. Now he lost his first bid for a major title when in only his 16th fight, he challenged 106 fight veteran Jose Luis Ramirez and dropped a split decision. However, he won the IBF title 2 fights later, and then he got revenge against Ramirez in a unification fight. This time he got a dominant unanimous decision, and both fights was almost carbon copies of each other. But the first one gave Ramirez a split decision. The second time the judges gave Sweet Pea a unanimous decision. So I don't know what those judges were doing. Basically the same fight. Now, one of Whitaker's most infamous fights was his absurd draw against Julio Cesar Chavez, who was 87-0 at the time. Yeah, Julio Cesar Chavez got a couple of gifts. He was 87-0 when Sweet Pea fought him, and it was obviously a matchup of historic proportions. And Sweet Pea was robbed of the win, but he clearly proved he was the superior fighter during the fight. Okay. Now, his later career, he got 3 of his 4 losses later in his career, and he was marred by drug use at that time. But he was one of the few ring legends who was never beaten in his athletic prime. Washington State, the greatest fighter from Washington State, Freddie Steele. Okay, Freddie's on the right there. Okay, wait a minute, that went the wrong way. That ain't Freddie Steele. Excuse me. How did I do that? Bear with me for a second. Oh my goodness. Oh, there we go. Yo, that is Freddie Steele. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's Freddie. On the right. That looks like, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. Oh well. Bear with me for a minute. Let me move on. I can't find Freddie Steele. That ain't Freddie. But I'm gonna find him. Give me 1 minute, please. I love a problem. There's Freddie Steele right there. Yeah, that's Freddie. Told you I was gonna find him. Now, Freddie was the greatest fighter from Washington State, born in Seattle, Washington. Freddie had 139 fights. He won 123. He lost 5. He had 11 draws. That's a lot of draws. 58 knockouts. Called himself the Tacoma Assassin. He was a recognized middleweight champion between 1936 and 1938. And his remarkable ring record included only 2 losses during the first decade of his career. He was a skilled boxer and he had legitimate pop. He won 6-1 in middleweight title fights, facing multiple elite title contenders. Okay. As champion, he defeaed Babe Briscoe to win the title in 1936 and again in a defense in 1937. He beat Gorilla Jones. He beat old Gorilla. Frank Battaglia, Ken Oberlin, and Carmen Bass. And when he lost his title via first round knockout to Al Hostak, with Jack Dempsey refereeing the fight, his sparring partner Davey Ward claimed that Steele had entered the ring with a cracked breastbone, which prevented him from keeping a responsible high guard. Got him knocked out in the first round too. Still, this stunning loss. Now that's a fight he should have postponed. Still, this stunning loss could not erase all that Steele had accomplished as champion and during his resume building years. Interestingly, Steele found some success in Hollywood after he retired, appearing in such films as the Oscar-nominated Hail's a Conquering Hero, and as Errol Flynn's boxing stunt double in Gentleman Jim. Okay. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1999. All right. The greatest fighter from West Virginia is the coal miner's daughter, Christy Martin. There's Christy on the left, piecing somebody up with the left hand. Christy Martin was born in Bluefield, West Virginia. 49-7, 3 draws, 31 knockouts. And at her peak, Christy Martin was one of the most famous and respected female fighters in the world. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in April of 1996. I think she was the first female fighter to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. This came after her Showtime televised victory over Deidre Gogarty. She was the first female fighter signed by Don King, which earned Martin. And that fight, when she beat Deidre Gogarty, earned her the WBC's nominal female lightweight championship. And guess what? The WBC didn't even give women's belts for their titles. Okay? She won the WBC championship, but the WBC at the time didn't award belts to females. That's crazy. Well, that wasn't Mauricio, but that was his father. Okay, Mauricio's father. I forgot his name. Interestingly, Martin got into boxing on a dare after being persuaded to enter a tough women's competition while still attending college on a basketball scholarship. And her career as a prize fighter would see her face fellow trailblazers like Mia St. John. They split a pair of fights. Former world boxing and MMA champion Holly Holm, and she also fought later Ali, another women's boxing trailblazer. Later, Martin would fight for the NABF middleweight strap and win the WBC super welterweight title. Incredibly, Martin survived a brutal attempted murder in November 2010 when her then spouse, James Martins, her husband, stabbed her multiple times in the back and shot her. Martin was somehow able to escape and flag down a motorist who took her to the hospital. And her husband was eventually convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. That's all? Stabbed somebody and shot him and all he got was 25 years? Wow. Now, Martin is largely responsible for putting women's boxing on the map and paving the way for the likes of two-time Olympic gold medalist, the GOAT, Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, and numerous other women fighters that's active today. And Martin now lives with her partner, Jerry Lusk. Okay. Finally, Wisconsin. The greatest fighter born in the state of Wisconsin is Tyrone Trice, Trice, T-R-I-C-E, from Milwaukee. He had 53 fights, 43-10, 34 knockouts. Okay. Now, Wisconsin is not a renowned boxing state, but Tyrone, the Butterfly Trice, emerged from Milwaukee to become a top welterweight and junior middleweight contender in the 1980s and 1990s. He unsuccessfully challenged for world titles on 3 different occasions, but he did hold a WBA America's welterweight title, an IBC strap, International Boxing Club. That was the one run by the mob way back in the 50s. I didn't even know that was still around then. But he had the IBC strap at 154 pounds. He is also remembered for his feud with multi-weight champion James Lights Out Tony, even though they never fought. Okay? Now, Trice, now they got Trice, then they got Twice. So I'll say Trice faced Simon Brown 2 times for the IBF welterweight title in 1988 and 1990, losing both of them by late stoppage. And his third and final crack at a world championship came against junior middleweight champion John David Jackson, who beat him in a fairly competitive fight by scores of 116-111 twice and 117-110. That don't sound that competitive. Interestingly, 6 of his 10 career losses would come after the Jackson fight, meaning all but one of his prior defeats came in fights for major championships. Now, he holds wins over Kevin Pompey and Raphael Williams, amongst others. Now, regarding the Tony feud, Trice, after knocking Ron Collins out in a 1 round, made a spectacle of calling out Tony, who was in attendance at the fight. In fact, Trice boasted that he could stop Tony the same way, backing up his claims with a brash $50,000 bet, which enraged Tony. And the situation escalated when Tony entered the ring, and both men had to be separated. Although Tony would have been a significant favorite to defeat Trice, the promotion would have been certainly a spectacle. Okay, let's talk about this newspaper decision. Okay, what that is. Now, the newspaper decision. Okay, a newspaper decision was a type of decision in professional boxing. It was rendered by a consensus of sports writers attending a fight after it had ended inconclusively with a no decision, as many regions had not adopted the National Sporting Club of London's rules regarding judges and referees. Now, because that was in the no decision era, some places would have referees, judges there to judge a fight, but some places didn't. And as the fight went the allotted number of rounds, then nobody got a win or loss on their record. But that's where the newspaper decision came in. They would have a few newspaper columnists sitting ringside, and they would print their opinion of the decision in the newspaper. That's where all these decisions came from when I was saying the regular record and the newspaper record. But the newspaper record didn't count against the official record. But that's where the newspaper decision came in. It was printed in the paper by a few newspaper columnists that were at the fight. Okay? Now, like a no decision occurred when either under the sanctioning of state boxing law or by an arrangement between the fighters, both boxers were still standing at the end of a fight, and there had been no knockout or no official decision had been made, and neither boxer was declared the winner. Okay, that's what I was just saying. They would have a allotted number of rounds. I seen a fight where it was scheduled for 45 rounds. And so back then, after that 45 rounds ended, neither fighter had been stopped, then they would just walk away. Nothing went on their record. But the sports writers would make a decision in the newspaper. That's where the newspaper decision record came from that I was talking about. Okay? Now, the sports writers covering the fight after reaching a consensus would declare a winner or render the fight a draw and print the newspaper decision in their publication. Now, officially, however, a no decision fight resulted in neither boxer winning or losing, and the referee would not count as part of their official fight record. Nothing would go on the record. This should not be confused with the unrelated and contemporary term, no contest. No, it wasn't a no contest. Both fighters just walked away without a win or without a loss. It was part of their newspaper record. Now, the development of boxing initially by round scoring by the referee and 2 judges to the modern 3 judges with the 10-point must system has eliminated this newspaper decision practice. That's why you don't see none of the fighters nowadays with their newspaper decision nonsense. But that's what it was, okay? It was during the no decision era. When, the fight ended. Because back then, a fight wouldn't end until a lot of fights were in when somebody was knocked out or stopped. And then they went there a lot. Like Al Booker said, one went 102, 110, 102 rounds or something. So the fight went all those rounds. Nobody gave up or anything. They just walked away without a win or a loss, except they would get a newspaper decision, but that didn't count against their record. That was the newspaper decision, okay? But yeah, appreciate everybody rocking with me again. Tomorrow is History of Boxing in Asia, and Friday is on the Big Bear, Sonny Liston. Okay, everybody hit the appreciation button. Kind of slow today. What is today? Wednesday. Yeah, I guess everybody hit it. I appreciate it. Tomorrow is History of Boxing in Asia. Don't miss Friday. Is the life and career of the Big Bear, Sonny Liston. Yeah. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, I was looking at the Boxing News 24, and it's got some guy Canelo is fighting. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't even remember his name. He's a WBA mandatory. Nobody never heard of him. But I think it's going to be Edgar Berlanga next. Yeah. They're talking about him. He's going to win the Canelo sweepstakes. Or Jamal, if he get himself together. He'll win it. Yep. Somebody said Jamel said he was retired. Told Ocho Cinco. I know I wouldn't be able to find it now. Yeah. Yeah, Canelo's WBA mandatory. Yeah, and the big one is this weekend, everybody. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Who y'all got? I got Fury. He's just too big. And he got boxing skills, okay? I just don't know how Usyk is going to overcome that size. And Eddie Hearn predicts Fury to outbox Usyk in undisputed heavyweight class. Okay? He might stop him. Jai Apataya is on the card. Just an incredibly great card. I think the fight of the night might be Frank Sanchez and I'm gonna find out in a minute. I can't think of the guy's name. Ajit Carbajal, yeah, that's gonna be a good one. Ajit Carbajal and Frank Sanchez. Fight full of great fights. I think it's a championship. Bivol is fighting. I think they moved Bivol from the main event because him and when his fight, whenever that is, when he was supposed to fight Better Biab, I don't think he's the main event anymore. Yeah, Joe Cordina and Anthony Case. That's for Cordina's IBF Junior lightweight title. Yeah, that's on there. And Jai Apataya, Murs Breeders. They were supposed to have that last year. And that's for the vacant IBA strap. Yeah, because Apataya got stripped of that when he elected to fight at the Day of Reckoning and make that money. Because if he would have fought Breeders, he wouldn't have made that money from the Saudis in the Day of Reckoning. But that was a smart move because he made that money. Now he's going to get 2 paydays from the Saudis because now he is fighting Breeders for the vacant strap. So he got the opportunity to get it back. Plus, he got 2 big paydays out of it, okay? Because if the Saudis didn't have him fighting Breeders on their Day of Reckoning card, he was fighting somebody else. Very smart guy. Got 2 big paydays out of it. Frank Sanchez and Carbajal is only 10 rounds. Moses Atamba. Oh, Sergey Kovalev back in action. Wow. I thought Sergey was retired. And also Saturday, Emmanuel Navarrete against Dennis Berinchek, however you say his name, with the vacant WBO. And I believe Loma's going to fight the winner of that. I certainly do. And Brian Norman Jr. back in action. against Giovanni Santillan. Oh, yes. We got Richard Torres over against Brandon Moore. Two good heavyweights, man. I like Richard Torres. And Brandon Moore will be a good challenge for him. Man, that's two good cards Saturday. This is ESPN. Will the Day of Reckoning be early? Because I remember the Day of Reckoning was early. So will this card in Saudi Arabia? Oh my goodness. That's ESPN pay-per-view. Okay. Will that be early in the day? Because I know ESPN got them both. So yeah, they're gonna have to separate it. But that's a good card at night too. One of the Vargas sons on there, Emiliano, stepping up to 6 rounds, and some more of the Bob Father's young fighters. He got a whole truckload of young fighters. It's good for young fighters, you know. Get the fights, get a lot of recognition. But once you get up into the career, top rank is not too good for you. But two great cards Saturday, man. Wow. What is Saturday, the 18th? Yeah. Then we got another Friday card from Poland next week. Got a Friday card. Okay, then after that, it's the Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall rematch. And that's a shame, man, because that kid Catterall, that young man Catterall won Undisputed and got robbed. And now he'll probably never get to fight for Undisputed again in his life. That don't come along every day. He should have been on that list of Undisputed, but they robbed him. Now he's fighting Jack Taylor for nothing. No belts. But just to say he beat him, because he beat him the first time, he wants to say that. Get recognition for it. Thomas Hill, what's up, T. Hill? You missed the greatest fighter for each state show. Yep. So salute Thomas Hill. Hashtag JBT. I did the show on Cornerman last Wednesday too, Thomas Hill. I forgot to tell you. So you could have been in here. Yeah, but we were talking about some of these fights coming up. Yeah, Jack Taylor and Josh Catterall is next weekend for nothing. When the man beat Jack Taylor for Undisputed, now he's fighting him for nothing. Well, it's for bragging rights, I guess. Neither one of them will make any noise at 140. Jack Taylor or Josh Taylor or Jack Catterall will make any kind of noise at 140. Christian and Billy. Let's fight next weekend too. Next weekend. Mark Madov on there. We're in great shape. And don't forget the big JBT extravaganza, July 13th in Philly. You coming from the West Coast for that, T. Hill? Flying in? Yeah. Remember the Bivol Beterbiev card? They changed it. Bivol is fighting somebody named Malik Zanad, and they changed the main event to Wilder and Zhang. Smart move. The Saudis are smart, man. You know, they didn't do away with the card altogether. They just changed the main event. Since Bivol and Beterbiev ain't fighting, Bivol is still on the card, but they changed the main event to Wilder and Zhang. Very good move. Because Bivol and Zanard definitely ain't no main event. I don't even know who Zanard is. Ant said he was from Libya. Okay. Yeah. From Libya. But that's a good card too. Daniel DuBois and Philip. Oh man, Daniel DuBois and Philip Hergovic. Raymond Ford is defending his title against Nick Ball. Ford should be able to beat him. Yeah. Then AB. AB is like, what, about 3 weeks away? AB and Blair Cobb. I can't wait for the first press conference for that one. AB and Blair Cobb. Wow, that's going to be something. Think AB can pull it out? Anybody think AB going to pull it out? don't know. Oh, you've been ripping and running for your catering events, T Hill? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, are you coming? You flying in for the JBT meet and greet, T Hill? Okay. We're about 5 minutes away from The Voice. Another Cast Sports heading into the history books on this hump day afternoon. All downhill to the weekend. And the big heavyweight undisputed fight. And that's good for boxing. Like I always say, they making noise in the lower weight classes, but if boxing still goes as the heavyweight division goes, and heavyweight undisputed is great for boxing. You have a big heavyweight undisputed champion. This is the first time since Lennox Lewis, right? Lennox Lewis was 3-belt, right? Or was it 2-belt? I can't remember. I think the WBO might have been in existence then. But this is the first 4-belt heavyweight undisputed in the first time period since Lennox Lewis back in the 2000s. So this is great. It is happening this weekend. Not unless we have a draw. And then it's an immediate rematch both ways, no matter who wins. They fight each other next. They're each other's next fight, no matter who wins. Now, suppose this happens. Fury win the first one and Usyk win the second one. They gotta have a trilogy. They can't just walk away from that 1-1. Although whoever win the second one would be undisputed, but they still gotta have a rematch. The Saudis would get a rematch out of it because they got that money, like Jay Hardcore said. They get it from the mud, so they're gonna make them fight a rematch for what they go at them. I mean, a trilogy. If it ends up 1-1, yeah. Oh, you wish you could, T Hill? Okay, we'll have pictures and everything for you to see. Yeah. Yep. But this is Cast Sports, your friendly neighborhood box story. Getting ready to turn you over to The Voice, okay? And then the hangout. Oh no, I'm wrong. No hangout tonight. We got the old timers show, and still got the Friday night hangout, but today is Wednesday, so I guess it'll be the Rise podcast. It'll be next after Just Do, and we still got Aunt McQueen's Casuals Corner and BN Boxing News out there doing shows. Turn your notifications on and hit the bell icon and hit all, because you want all that fire content. BN Boxing News. I know I wanted to ask you if you're still in here. Did you come on after the fight started? Because I was looking for you. I didn't see you. It was kind of late, so I guess you probably didn't come on here. But I was looking for you. Because I know BN Boxing News does post-fight analysis. I was looking for him Saturday. I couldn't find him. BVO was on. He had been on all day, but I was scared to go in there because I had blocked him. I was scared to go in BVO's chat. He might throw me out as payback. So no, I didn't go in there. I listened for a little while. T Hill was in there. Remember T Hill? You was in there Saturday. I was listening, but I was scared to come into the chat because BVO said, "Oh, I got your ass now. You blocked me. Get out of here." So no, I didn't go in there. But he had pretty good post-fight analysis on. T Hill was in there at McQueen. D for the win was in there, yeah. But I couldn't go in. I was scared. I blocked the man, so I ain't going up in his chat. I ain't crazy. Okay. But I appreciate everybody for stopping by today. Everybody hit the appreciation button. That's the like button in the JBT, and I would appreciate if everybody hits it. Likes kind of low today. My record is 34, okay? But let's do the roll call. Thomas Hill, hashtag JBT. Hardcore Boxing News, hashtag JBT. That's Jay Hardcore, creator of the JBT. The Mighty Rise Podcast, hashtag JBT. BN Boxing News was in here. Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. We got some good information out of Bruce Gas today. Melanin Queen 27 was in the building. Salute Melanin Queen 27. Just Do Boxing, The Voice, coming up in about 5 minutes. Let's Talk Fashion, aka Remo, hashtag JBT. D for the Win was in the building. Al Booger was in the building. Mike Masick, always in the building. Ray Patterson, straight out of New Jersey, was in here. And Miss Cass, hashtag JBT, the Executive Vice President of Cass Sports. And we had two of the queens of the JBT in here today. Miss Cass, hashtag JBT, and Melanin Queen 27 was in the building. Miss Joette always comes by sooner or later and hit the like, even afterwards. You come by and hit the like. I know she do because the likes always go up, and she says she's one of them, and she is. So appreciate Miss Joette, another queen of the JBT. Okay, so this Cass Sports is going into the history books. I appreciate everybody that continues to rock with me. We're growing. Rome wasn't built in a day, but we're gonna build it. Okay, we are building it. Everybody have a great day. We got Just Do Boxing and the Rise podcast later on tonight. And turn your notifications on for a Casuals Corner or BN Boxing News. And we're going to get BN Boxing News in one of these slots, whether he know it or not. He's going to be in there eventually, sooner rather than later. BN Boxing News is going to be among the regular lineup. Casuals Corner too. Okay, but let's get ready to go watch The Voice, Bill. Everybody have a great day. Cass Sports. Thank everybody for stopping by today. I appreciate it. See you tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Be there or be square. I'm out.